Welcome back to the Marine Corps Movie Minute, where we discuss the movies of the Marine Corps 1 minute at a time. I'm Brian.
I'm Jack.
And I'm John from Dirty Harry Minute. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Thanks for coming back, John. Well, we've reached minute 110. It begins with Major Powers trying to get some pictures of Spider-Man. And it ends with Recon out on patrol. So, John, welcome back.
Thanks for having me, guys. I was thinking in the between episodes that I'm very privileged to be on this podcast because I come from a country that I don't think even has a Marine Corps. Yeah, I know nothing about what you guys do, so I love hearing you guys explain it and watch movies about it.
Yeah, most times we don't know what we do either.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, I didn't know that if Australia did or not, because I know, like I've mentioned on the pod before about rooming with some Royal Marines for the night, and Perry's party with some over in Norway. So
yeah, those guys are they're pretty cool. Yeah, it just kind of dawned on me that between like countries we're kind of like let's say stepbrothers or half brothers.
Yeah, cousins once removed.
Yeah, you got England and daddy's just seeding everybody, and then
I'd say half brother.
And on the other side of the plate, it's like, yeah, I got a half brother on the other continent, on the southern other part of the globe.
Never thought of it in those terms.
Well,
we have the best of both worlds, Australia and New Zealand. But sometimes we'll definitely say pants instead of trousers. But we'll say truck instead of lorry. We say mobile instead of cell phone. So we get the best of each culture.
There you go, man.
Do you say math or mats?
Maths, plural, maths.
Plural,
you know why? Because it's the study of mathematics. So
I always wondered that. We just always abbreviate everything, math.
Yeah, we only learned just one, barely.
Yeah, one math. 2 + 2 = 5 apparently now. So, Common Core. Well, John, you know what? You mentioned not having, you're not sure if you had a Marine Corps, and just kind of learning about the Marines and through movies and stuff. So, actually, I meant to ask you this last minute. Like, what is your history with this movie? I know you've mentioned a little bit with your dad liking the movie, which was a similar thing with me. Like, my dad liked the movie.
Yep.
So I was just curious, what's your background with the movie itself?
It all came through my deep dive into Clint Eastwood. In year 10 in 97 or 98, I was in a class called Film and TV Studies. And our teacher showed us one movie per decade. And for the 70s, for whatever reason, he showed the R-rated movie Dirty Harry.
That's awesome.
Triggered everything off, yeah. I think for the 50s, it was Singing in the Rain. The 60s, Dr. Zhivago, and 1970s was Dirty Harry. I love the movie. Asked the teacher if I could take the VHS tape back home. I did. And then it was just going to a video store, taking out every Clint Eastwood movie I could find. And Heartbreak Ridge was one of those first, and I loved it. Yeah.
Nice. So let me just ask you, obviously Dirty Harry's a big one, and we're happy to have you here on Heartbreak Ridge. What would be let's say your top 5 Clint Eastwood movies, that is?
All right. Well, obviously Unforgiven.
Yep, that's a great one.
Probably number 1, I'd say. It's the movie I watch at least, 2 or 3 times a year without fail. What else? A go-to is actually Kelly's Heroes. Have you seen that?
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love that one. Yep.
It's not even really that much of an Eastwood film. Obviously, he's one of the main stars. Tightrope is another one I watch, which has banana titties in it, as I said in the previous episode.
Right.
And that's a great movie. That's like the lost Dirty Harry sequel that never was. Like, it shits all over Sudden Impact and Deadpool. If Dirty Harry made his way to the Big Easy, whatever it's called in Louisiana, and he had a family, divorced family, that would be a great sequel. So those are my top 3. The other ones, Good, Bad, the Ugly, I suppose. Yeah. What about you, Brian? What are your favorites apart from Heartbreak Ridge?
Yeah, Heartbreak Ridge is, of course, it's on the list. It's an easy one. I'm big fan of the first Dirty Harry. I had a girlfriend in high school that bought me the VHS tape of that because she knew I liked Clint Eastwood so much.
Ooh.
Any Which Way You Can, with Clyde the Orangutan, the second one.
Sequel.
The sequel. The sequel is by far the better one. I love that movie. Josie Wales. I love Josie Wales.
Oh, of course.
As much as I love The Unforgiven, and it probably makes the list because it's so good. There's something about Outlaw Josie Wales. It's kind of long, but man, he's just so awesome in that movie.
I think it's interesting the ones you've selected because
They're all over.
That's right. But they all involve like a group of misfits that Clint's around. Like in Outlaw Josie Wales, he's got the Indian chief Sondra Locke and the dog that follows him around. In Heartbreak Ridge, you've got this motley crew of misfits, as you said, Bad News Bears that he's training, and maybe more than the first orangutan movie. You've got those bikie weirdos and his orangutan, of course, and his crazy mum and stuff. So I think I know which Eastwood movies you like, where he's sort of presiding over this weird collection of weirdos.
That's so funny because it is an eclectic group of movies. They're kind of, one's a comedy, one's a war film, one's a western. You're right, but I never made that connection. But it's 100% true. They're all misfits and stuff in there. So
yeah, I'm so killing myself. I didn't pick. Yep. Oh no, I didn't say the fourth and fifth, did I? Outlaw Josie Wales is up there.
Learning a little something about myself on this podcast. So. Well, honestly, to me, there's so many good ones. I even like In the Line of Fire. I don't know if I put it in top 5, but there's just so many different good Clint Eastwood films, in my opinion. So too many to name to give it a.
That's one of the best. That's one of the best Harry, and an antagonist. Like John Malkovich is just the perfect foil for Eastwood.
Andy Robinson and Dirty Harry. I don't know if Stitch Jones versus Gunny Highway is one of the all-time classics, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, it's almost like he's got 2 in this one because he's got Stitch Jones kind of like a thorn in his side, but Major Powers he's just an asshole. Yeah. No Scorpio though.
No.
Everett McGill could play a good serial killer, I think. He was the bad guy in Under Siege 2 with what's his name? Steven Seagal, and he played like a like a Navy SEAL kind of type character, mercenary.
That's right. They did make a second one.
Yeah, it was on a train with Katherine Heigl as Steven Seagal's niece.
Oh yeah,
she would have been pretty young. Well,
14, 15 years old. She was very young in that movie. Yeah. I didn't know who she was until I was older, and I was like, wait a minute, that's the girl from... Yeah. Well, anyways, what do you say we guys get into this minute? You guys want to talk about it?
Absolutely.
Do it now.
So basically, Major Powers is continuing to blow off Gunny, saying all this information's already been factored in. Basically, they're talking about that these were Cuban regulars with Russian rifles. That's already been factored in. He's taking his pictures. He's he's on assignment for J. Jonah Jameson. They stop right in front of this sign for St. George's Medical School. Upcoming events. We got the student election coming up and junior-senior banquet. So, ironically, they're holding elections at the school, but not in the country of Grenada at the time.
By example.
And what about Miss Banana? Miss Banana Titties? Could she have relied upon your vote in the election? Do you reckon she was up for president?
She's got my vote.
One up.
Yeah. We get a salute. So.
Eddie having a cigarette.
Yeah, they're all. Yeah. I wonder why they're having a cigarette. Actually,
a smoke break. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna notice while these two are talking back there. Forgetty's back there, just like completely. Like I said, he's smoking, leaning against the sign. That dude's had a rough couple minutes earlier. He shot that skeleton. He almost killed Gunny. He's just that dude. That dude needs a minute to just compose himself.
Yeah.
Was he singing about smoking a cig in the song in the shower? Was that his line?
Yes, he was.
Smoking a cig. Yeah.
Ain't no time to smoke a cig. Yeah, and he does the motion too. Yeah, he really got into
the cigarette.
Yeah, there you go.
Cigarette. I had to pay that later in the movie.
Yeah. Now he's got time. Gunny actually let him have a minute. Yeah, see, what I've noticed as we're going through this movie, there's a lot of stuff that gets referenced in lines and dialogue that were actually set up a lot earlier that, I never noticed just watching the movie for a lark or watching a movie as I'm like cleaning the house or doing something like that when it's just on.
I think it's quite surprising because by all accounts, the script had a lot of versions of it. Did you read the background? They had to bring in the writer of Bronco Billy to add some comedy, and Clint still wasn't satisfied, so he had to bring further writers in. Yeah, so it's quite surprising. A lot of these things pay off. It's a bit of a slapdash way the script was put together by all reports, made very quickly.
I knew they they had to make some changes for sure, and there was some stuff about them not being satisfied. I did not realize that the scriptwriter was from Bronco Billy, or at least one of them. And
I think his task was to add comedy. I think, which by all accounts he succeeded.
yeah, because this movie is really funny at times. It's some of the humor is more of a dry sense of humor, with
Exactly.
looks and just dialogue. But honestly, Bronco Billy is not a funny movie, so he's not the guy I would have gone to. Bronco
Very
Billy
good
is like,
point.
yeah, it's not. I mean,
Great
it's
movie, but not funny.
yeah, it's not meant to. I mean, it's supposed to be a comedy. It's not that funny. These guys are going back and forth, and of course we get Chuzu, who's fast becoming my favorite character of the movie.
Yeah, he's cool.
He said, "It's battalion. Go ahead." Big Daddy says, "Get off your ass and get back in the war." His words, sir.
No, get off your fat ass.
Yeah, that's so funny because he does say fat ass, but that damn thing lied to me again. I'm looking at that website where I found that has the not the script, but what is it called? The subtitles. And it says, yeah, get off your fat ass, sir. Thank you, Perry. That is correct. His words, sir.
Yeah.
I like too. He goes, he wants you to recon that hill, and he points to it, and they both look like the hill's just right there. He says he says one of our fly boys saw some armor. I love the fact that he called him a fly boy. I'm surprised they didn't call us something like, even though we didn't have anything to do with the actual,
Oh, they had names for us. They did.
fly. Well, I had a buddy that was in, he was a mortarman. And so he used to tease me that I was a pogue all the time, but I'm like, we're cool pogues, so.
Yeah. Yeah, we were.
What's the funniest code names you guys ever heard, like in an exercise? Big Daddy sounds pretty lame. Did you have any real funny code names for any officers or anything?
No, we never had
not official ones.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah, I thought Big Daddy was that sounded a little funny. Our kind of exercises weren't really like that. They were more messages and setting up our stuff to make sure our communications could work. That type of thing. Yeah, and I'm trying to think too of any I may have come across at some point, but yeah, nothing comes to mind.
No,
I've got a lot of questions about this minute, guys.
Go ahead,
for it.
We're here to illuminate.
First of all, just your gut reaction, Major Powers' reaction, like his response to what Chuzu says. How do you read that? Is he thinking, "Oh yeah, I'm actually in the military. I've got to get back to work"? Like he sort of looks crestfallen, like,
Yeah.
Or he feels like he's been told off.
I think a little bit of both, actually, because I had a note about that. Gunny smirks. Clint Eastwood smirks when he says, "Yeah, get your fat ass and get back in the war." But Powers seems like his feelings were hurt. That's what I wrote.
Yeah,
it's not like really exaggerated. It's subtle, but he does kind of put his head down for a quick second. And yeah, I mean, he's just there wanting to take pictures. And all right. So I was watching Band of Brothers. Have you ever seen Band of Brothers, John?
I have, yes, not for a while, but yes, great writing, yeah.
Yeah, awesome movie or TV show. Was showing my son this, and this was the Bastogne in the Battle of the Bulge time when they're getting shelled in the woods, and there was that one, I forget who their company commander was at the time, but he kept disappearing, and they called him Foxhole something because I forget whatever the character's name was, because he would be like, yeah, he kept disappearing. He'd be like, I got to go to division and I got to go do this. And he would always have somebody else take care of things, or I'm going back to division for help, that type of thing. And he was never involved and he was ineffective when he actually had to go and actually, do something, because he was always just trying to basically get out of doing something. And I kind of feel like Powers is like that, because he's sending, I want recon to go up and recon that hill. And he's too worried about pictures. And he says, well, don't move without me, because he wants the glory, is what I say, is what I think. So when he's getting yelled at for sitting on his ass, basically, I think he takes that a little personal. And I think he's also like, oh, shit, yeah, I actually have to do Marine shit right now and not just take pictures. What else you got for us?
Would you guys have liked to have seen a bit of a more active role for Major Powers in the movie as like an antagonist or like a serious antagonist? Like, I mean, he could literally tell Aggie that Gunny had
like get in the way,
betray him or something like that.
Oh, that would have been a good foil because like he would try to be dating. Well, I don't know about dating Aggie though. Oh,
just something a bit like make him a bit more like Captain Harris in Police Academy, or give him a bit, I don't know, a real antagonist Eastwood, really threatening to throw him out ahead of retirement or something. I don't know. I don't really get a sense of Powers' role being written that well. I don't know.
I think his role is supposed to be that, but there are bits of this movie where he just kind of disappears for a while. Especially early on. Like, so we meet Gunny meets him and he realizes what a jerk he is. But other than that, it's just like he just has a jerk boss. And then we don't see him again, I think, until the exercise where they do the Miles gear. Like he just kind of is gone for a while. And because we're focusing more on Gunny and the Recon Marines and their dynamic. And then he just kind of pops in and out here and there, threatening Clint, or just like here he's just like they you could tell they don't like each other, but they're just kind of standing around working together. He's like, has that already been factored in, sir? And he's like, move out. Like you could hear the animosity between them and the disrespect on both parts, but nothing beyond just that, like, I don't like you, you don't like me type situation. So I think if this movie were made today, first off, I think the fight scene in the pit would have been more epic. It would have made sure that would have happened. And you know what? You guys were talking about, you kind of came up with the idea of Aggie and him and trying to sabotage that. I could see instead of Roy Jennings, it would be she's dating Major Powers. I mean, if that was made today,
he's trying to date Aggie.
Or, as I once previously mentioned, that Perry basically got a cavity from how stupid this sounded, that we would find out that Clint Eastwood or Gunny Highway and Major Powers were half brothers, and everything that's gone wrong in his life has been the design of Major Powers. It was me, Gunny, like a kite floating in the wind. I'm telling you, man, they would have been half brothers. Speaking of half brothers, we're calling it back. Also, I think Major Powers would have had more to do at the end. Either, you know what, you know how they kind of get into trouble with when Lieutenant Ring sends them. If they don't listen to Gunny, Lieutenant Ring leads the men into a potentially dangerous situation of getting them all killed when the armor shows up. I think Major Powers would have been more proactive in sending them with bad intel into that situation, if that was, again, where he would be more
try to get Marines killed.
Well, not try. It would highlight. See, also right now here is it's the battalion CO that's sending them up to go recon that hill.
Yeah, it's because Gunny told him, he's like, hey, look, I saw some other stuff. I think we're not done here. Major Powers is like, yeah, no, we're done. Click, 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 and then the boss gets on the phone and says, hey, get back in the war. You're not done here. So it's like, he's been told on both sides, you're fucking slacking off.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I think though, if to make him more of a protagonist, he would have sent them up there saying, oh, there's light resistance, there's no arm, like we don't just go on up there, and then he would have sent them, not knowing, it would show his ineffectiveness. He would send them on a suicide mission, basically, thinking it was just
charge a tank.
So that could have been a way to show his ineffectiveness and also his, like, basically hatred of Gunny, and or not hatred, because that really wouldn't be hatred, I guess, at that point. It would just be he's just not a good Marine.
Yeah, he's just a shit leader.
What he says is he says recon that hill, but wait for Foxtrot Company before launching any assault.
Yeah, stay in contact.
So,
yeah. Okay. So if you see anything, don't start a firefight before you.
Can you explain that a bit more? Is there such a thing as bad intelligence if you're just going to recon? Isn't that what recon does? Why is Highway's reaction? Isn't Highway a bit over the? Does he just resent the order being relayed to him from Powers when he's just heard it come across the radio?
So so the idea that like the sending him up there, I think it's insulting for him to say, like bad intelligence for like the recon unit to send back bad intelligence, because if they're only going to report back what they see, like there's a very specific format of how they report back troop composition, their attitude, like any other information that they can come up with, like if there's any like unit patches, size, what they're armed with, how they're equipped, are they, do they look tired, wore out, and beat the fuck up? Well, that's different than you going up there and it's all a bunch of Mr. Olympia, all of them carrying like heavy weapons and bloodthirsty look in their eye. Like it's a different. Those things kind of tend to matter when you're reporting back the composition of enemy forces. So I think it'd be insulting for Major Powers to have to reiterate back to Gunny to give us good info. But I can see how that would piss him off.
I think it's a little dig too that that he kind of Gunny gave him intel. He blew him off and said that's already been factored in. So he's like, "Oh, do I send this back, or is it already been factored in?" Like basically, you blew me off the first time. What makes you think you're going to listen to the second time? And I still argue that the reason he doesn't want Gunny to proceed any further is not because Powers wants to have a hand in taking that hill if that's what they end up doing.
Foxtrot is going to get the glory. Okay. Yeah, I understood that bit, but I didn't realize that he was sort of just angry. It's like, I just gave you the information you needed, but it came in from the head shed, so you ignored me, yeah.
Okay. That's how I took it, yeah. Yeah, I like you said, I think I mentioned the fly. That I think that's funny.
I'm like you. I really, the more I watch this movie, the more I'm enamored with Chuzu. And just his line, "You're too ugly to live forever."
Because he said you're full of good news. Yeah. Oh, you're full of good news when he mentions the armor. You're too ugly to live forever.
That's such a great line. It almost sounds like it's from literature or something. It's too good to be just Chuzu's come up with it. But he's really great, and his verbal dexterity or whatever is just as good, if not better than Highway's during the movie.
Oh yeah. I say he comes up with some gems that even Highway doesn't come up with. It's just nobody talks like that in real life. So I'm enamored with his wordsmithing that he does. When I first, when we first started the podcast, and I was talking about why the Marines themselves don't kind of pulled back from their support of this movie, and why some Marines don't like this, and I was saying that a lot of the staff NCOs, besides Clint Eastwood, are kiss asses, and I used to lump Chuzu into that category because of specifically of his line early on when he says about Major Powers, an unappreciated field of endeavor, sir. And I thought I'm like, why would he say that? Perry, I thought, made the good point that it sounds like he was being sarcastic when he said it, just kind of, or maybe being a little political or whatever. But as this movie goes on, I notice he is by far not a kiss ass. He tells, he tells Major Powers that wouldn't be fair. I can't do that.
Yeah.
He's always got these sideway looks like, Jesus, did you just see that? He's just stuff like that. Get on your fat ass, his words, sir. But obviously he could have censored himself. He didn't have to repeat exactly what Battalion CO said.
Exactly.
Yeah, Chuzu is one of my favorite characters at this point, just because of the things he says. Now, to get what you were saying, John, about you too ugly to live forever, and it sounds kind of poetic or something like that.
Yeah.
So there was a Marine named Dan Daly, and he's won the Congressional Medal. Well, here I go saying the Congressional Medal of Honor again. There's no such thing. It's the Medal of Honor. Dan Daly won the Medal of Honor twice, and he probably would have won it a third time. So I think he won it in the first one, and I'm not going to look it up, but I think during the Boxer Rebellion when they were fighting the Chinese, and when he was young, and then here he is much older and higher ranking, might have been even a sergeant major by this point. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But he's in Belleau Woods in World War One, and this is where the Marines got the nickname Devil Dog, Teufelhunden. They were ordered an ill-advised direct assault in Belleau Woods on the German line. I think they were. I don't even think they had a lot of ammo. There was a ton of hand-to-hand fighting and bayonet fighting and all that good stuff. Well, Dan Daly's proclamation to his men were, "Come on, you sons of bitches! You want to live forever?" So there he goes. So that to me, you're too ugly to live forever. Kind of similar, you know. I've been saying right along. I think somebody needs to make a movie either about Bella Wood or about Dan Daly, and then the like the climax, the end, that the third act where the end battle could be that Bella Woods and that the proclamation and that battle. I think it would be epic as fuck.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see that. I'm gonna Google that after we've finished recording the battle. I was just going to ask, do you guys know anyone that's been awarded the Medal of Honor, or when you were in the service, was anyone there?
No, I've never met anybody in person. I take that back. I did. I'll just edit what I just said because that didn't make any sense. No, I've never met anybody. Period.
In the flesh.
Right. I've only seen TV.
As a Marine, if you were to see a living Marine with a Congressional Medal of Honor or a Medal of Honor on their chest, or they earned, you'd almost be obligated. Yeah, you'd almost be obligated just to give them a hand job instead of a handshake.
Well, I would say I feel like most of them kind of basically retire or leave the service after they win it, because a lot of times they're injured. They take
they get the shit beat out of them. They earn that fucking little ribbon.
I could be wrong. I mean, I'm sure there's been plenty within history that have stayed in, but it just feel like that most people, when they get it, they've already been out, because it takes a while for that process to go through.
Yeah, man, honestly, I can't think of anybody, even like the Dakota Meyer and the other one, the other Marine.
I just mentioned him not that long ago too, and I can't think of his name.
Yeah, and I think they were both out when they were awarded theirs.
I think that's pretty common. Well, now, granted, I mean, like I said, I think they were both pretty injured too, though, right? Or at least the
Dakota, I think was pretty beat up, but he wasn't as bad as the other guy. And man, I wish I would remember his name, man. But I mean, you typically it's bad juju. You've earned that. You've earned that respect, and then the irony is that you don't get to enjoy it while you're in the service.
Do you guys like bad American accents by foreigners?
It doesn't usually bother me too much.
Honestly, there's so many different accents in the United States that most of the time, unless it's really, really, really bad, where it just doesn't sound American at all. I'm barely even.
All right, I'm gonna read what's on the back of one of the VHS copies of Heartbreak Ridge.
Okay,
please do.
A last hurrah for a combat veteran who won the Medal of Honor when he was a kid and has been trying to lose it ever since.
He's trying to lose it.
Well, that was a prelude to my question. When you have such an honor bestowed upon you, I wonder if it changes. Well, like you said, you're more likely it's bad juju. You get out of the force, but would it change you? You either feel too proud, it makes you really arrogant, or the opposite, you feel, oh, I didn't earn this. And
most of the time, it comes
that weight heavy.
The second. From what I've heard from the stories of the people that have survived to receive that medal, most of the time they don't feel like they deserved it. Like they felt like their buddies that they lost in combat were the ones that really earned it.
Yeah, because you'll see a lot of times, like 100 guys did exactly the same. They'll say something like this, like, "Hey, every guy I served with, or everybody, at the time that I received this, award, or for whatever they were being on, when they earned it, other guys were doing just as heroic stuff," is what they'll say. And I mean, I can't speak for anybody who's won it, because I've never done anything even remotely close to but there could be a little bit of survivor's guilt too,
Yeah.
So
when Gunny's in,
those are your brothers.
Remember when Gunny's in prison and he's sort of going, "I will kill you, I will honor you."
You can beat me. You can.
That was weird.
What he said. You can beat me. You can stab me. You can even kill me. Just don't bore me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Gunny's a little bit of an older age adrenaline junkie.
Obviously he he's kind of a drunk, and I think he's not a drunk, but I think he gets mean when he's a drunk. He's looking for a fight. Now,
Yeah.
granted, in that situation though, he had just had a big blow up with Aggie, and he was probably at his lowest, and so he was drinking, and somebody probably pushed him too far,
Yeah.
and he wasn't thinking in his right mind at that point. So
Yeah. Somebody probably called him a jarhead motherfucker, and he just
right.
crack.
Oh, right, yeah, like that jerk in the jail cell who's like, I don't like jarheads, I don't like soldier boys, he said too, or whatever. So, yeah, after the recon moves out, I was noticing right before that, or when they were told to move out, we get a shot of all the students being driven out of the 5-ton, and where you hear, "Hey, Marines!" Hey, they're all cheering them. I was laughing though, because I'm like, man, I wonder how many of those students actually survived the 5-ton trip back. Because those things bounce you around, and you go flying. There's no cover, I mean,
I'm
how
surprised
many?
they actually got them off the ships and onto the land before
Yeah,
now, and that they actually ran.
yeah, exactly. We had a 5-ton in our unit that we were responsible for, and that thing never worked well. It was probably the same ones in this movie.
Yeah, busted rust on it 10 years later.
I was just thinking about that the other day. It's like, hey, it's July. It's 100 degrees out. It's 99% humidity. Hey, go take the 5-ton out and bust some rust on it.
Yeah.
We don't have anything else better we could be doing right now, and can't we do that in the winter when it's not like so hot?
Yeah. Oh,
Thanks
I
a
never
lot.
had to do that shit. I was always busy doing important Marine stuff.
Yeah, sure you were. You just didn't piss anybody off.
Well, also that.
I got a picture of Big Jim and myself out there busting some rust on one of those days, and we made sure to always drive it over towards the 7-Day store so we could all get a drink after.
Yeah.
Fun
I
stuff.
miss those days sometimes. I always thought was funny was all these civilians like, yeah, I want to get me a Hummer. I'm like, why the fuck would you ever want to do that? Like, have you ever ridden one? I went, no, but they look awesome. Fuck those things.
Yeah, they're not. They're not comfortable.
No, fuck no.
After they moved the 5-ton out, we just basically get shot of recon heading up a hill, basically on patrol. The recon in that hill as they were instructed or ordered. I noticed
still kind of punched up.
somebody got through to Frigetti, and he's got good trigger discipline.
I noticed that too. Yes.
So does Gunny Highway.
Yeah.
But then you find, let's see, Collins, no. Ponte, no.
Dead.
Pretty sure if I check Stitch, no.
Probably.
Who taught these actors how to hold their weapon?
Yeah. Oh,
Does Gunny have a tattoo or a bruise on his hand? His right hand? What is that?
You know what? I think that's some of the camouflage.
vein.
I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's meant to, because even Major Powers, if you look, he's got it all over his hands too.
Profile's holding his weapon upside down.
Is he?
Yeah, he's standing by the side, his weapon, the magazine's pointing straight up.
I thought he was getting pretty good at this stuff.
No, he's when they're standing by the sign. I'm sorry, and I hate to interrupt, but I wanted to call it out before I forgot. You see him in the background, and you see the magazine.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Dumb shit. What are you doing?
Like,
I wouldn't even know how to hold a weapon like that.
he's still thinking about that girl that kissed him 4 times.
I guess so, man. The guy's head all kinds in a mess.
You know what? Though we failed to bring up a funny line. Now that I think about it, after the
Wedding Bell Blues?
Yeah, Wedding Bell Blues. That's exactly.
Yeah.
What does he say? I think he's got the hots for you, or
Watch your back. Yeah.
Yeah.
watch
Do you
your back.
think Stitch has got a blues song all ready to go? A little rap to go along with that?
Oh, Wedding Bell
he's working
Blues.
on
Yeah,
one.
that's going to be on Recon Records. That's going to be on the B side, I think.
A lot of the gay innuendo, homophobia in this movie. I mean, for the most part, it's a different era. I understand it makes me cringe, but
Yeah.
I love the earlier line: "Give up the booty bullshit, jail."
Yeah. there's a few lines that are like you said, like cringeworthy, and you're like, all right, that was made today, wouldn't be in the film.
No, they would have had that. Yeah, no, they would have. The screenwriter would have been executed.
Even if it was if it's period appropriate, it just would not be uttered, and that's fine. But something like that, like the whole like watch your back, or get, I don't play any of this jail, give up the booty stuff. The stuff about, oh, it was a girl, Gunny. Oh, is he cute? Like that stuff is like the harmless stuff that guys joke around, especially in the military.
Yeah.
So I don't like, and of course everybody makes the joke about don't drop the soap in jail. So like I don't think those should be lumped in with the more homophobic slurs that get uttered in this movie. But trust me, there are still plenty of scenes where you go, we don't bring them up on this show.
Yeah.
It's just, for me, it's just don't repeat it as far as like what Forgetty's like nickname really is. Like I don't call him that. I call him Forgetty every time, that type of thing. So like, but that would be considered more on the inappropriate side, or the whole stuff with when Gunny and Roy Jennings were having their little back and forth. That was that was the type of thing that's like, yeah, that's cringeworthy, especially with 2020, vision and hindsight. It's a bad look, but the give up the booty is a funny line. The Wedding Bell Blues, because even if you don't even look at that as a homosexual reference, that's just two people that don't get along, and it's like now it's what is that show with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce? It's like
Moonlighting.
Yeah, it's like a moonlighting. Yeah, they're from they're two different people, but they hate each other, but they're in love.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too is that you hear, you got like in regular military, a regular conversation amongst two people that you would think hate each other would die for each other. And it's a hard thing for somebody that's not in the military to understand or get their head wrapped around, is that you would hear some just shit batted back and forth between two people that it genuinely like just love each other as brothers or as family. Like it's just, but it's just seen differently in the military. Some people that don't live it or haven't lived it don't understand it. You just hear some just horrible things, man, come out of somebody's mouth by somebody that you do anything in the world for, and they do anything in the world for you. It's something you take it and you watch the movie, and that with that in context, it doesn't really bother me as much. But I understand, today's society things are viewed differently because.
I mean, like there's certain words I don't use anymore because they're just I got older,
Yeah,
and it just was removed from my my vocabulary.
Yeah.
So there's some stuff in here where you're like, yeah, it really shouldn't be said anymore. But then there's other things where it's like, it's harmless, and there's a difference. But
Yeah.
that's a whole other conversation,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hate when you hear it. Like when you really legitimately hear it, you're like, oh yeah, this this isn't good for nobody.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I mean, I don't know if I'll leave this in or not, but when I first got out, I met these two guys. One was a Puerto Rican guy, one was a black guy, and they were older than me. They were in their 40s, and here I am, just 23-year-old guy or whatever, and they started in on each other, and they were saying some racist stuff, to each other, back and forth, and I'm like, I mean, some of it was legitimately funny, but they just kept going and going and going, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe, what is this going? I'm not a shy guy. I'm not, like I've heard plenty of stuff, and that I don't think twice of it, and I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this. Come to find out, they were in the military together. They knew each other for 20 years. They were like best buddies. And then also come to find out that the Puerto Rican guy was married to a black woman and has black children.
Yeah.
So all this stuff he was saying was just, I mean, they were just doing it to tease each other, and it was out of love. And I was like, well, I go, and once I realized that they not only were they in the service together, but they were also, like best friends, I was like, there you go. That's why they were doing that. Like this wasn't.
You should absolutely leave this in, man. It is good for somebody that doesn't know.
One of them's Puerto Rican. Maybe you heard on set Mario Van Peebles.
Exactly.
Learn from the best.
Well, I'm kind of tapped out for this minute. Do you guys have anything else that we've missed that we want to talk about?
I wanted to know, you probably talked about it before, but the soft sort of camouflage hats they have, were they
the bunny
realistically
covers?
being used?
Yes.
Yeah. They are realistic? Okay.
Bunny covers. Yeah, I don't know how often they would legitimately get used, but like recon units, they wear soft covers. I don't know why they would have exchanged those for their other soft cover, which is the 8-pointed, looks like the baseball cap, but probably because they're out in the field.
Yeah, you don't see him wear the baseball cap type thing out in the field like that. You would either it's this or a helmet, which I
Yeah.
mean I understand their recon. If we even to watch a modern movie, you'd see them out in the desert wearing those type of things in the desert camis. But like Powers and Webster, they both have their helmets on.
But they're not recon.
Well, I guess you're right. That's the recon part of it. I guess maybe it's because it's lighter. My guess is the movie reason is it looks cooler.
Yeah, I think recon, when we grew up, like Force Recon was like the Marine version of Navy SEALs. Like you're always getting into fights and you engaging the enemy or whatever. I think these guys here were supposed to move fast and not actually be seen. Like they were supposed to, they were capable of getting into fights and engaging the enemy, but like their whole role was a support for the other infantry elements to go and like give the disposition of the enemy and hey, be careful, there's a light armor vehicle over here, or they've got heavy weapons, and like they weren't supposed to be seen. They were supposed to sneak around, and it's kind of hard to sneak around when you got that big ass damn turtle shell on your head.
Yeah, that's true.
As someone not in the military, it just looks a little bit wussy, if I can say. It just doesn't look...
Oh, with the Kevlar?
I like it better than the helmet look because I think that looks like the first time I put my helmet on, I was like, "Oh my god, I look like a freaking idiot."
Yeah, you look like a dick. I hated wearing those Kevlars. I would rather wear a soft cover. Like if I'm gonna get shot in the head, I'd rather get shot in the head.
Sorry, that reminded me of a boot camp story. We were out in the field. This is before they did the Crucible, and it was basic warrior training. I think he did for like the last couple of weeks of boot camp. And so we were about to do some sort of hump, and somebody put their helmet on backwards.
Yeah.
The DIs lost their shit. DIs from other platoons were coming over going, "Holy shit, we got Darth Vader here. This motherfucker think he's Darth Vader. Say I'm your father. Say it, I'm your father." And he's like, "I'm your father, sir." Holy shit, look it out. Check it out. It's Darth Vader. Oh my god. You're lying trying not to laugh at this, and this dude's yelling, "I'm your father."
Yeah.
They're calling the other DIs over. Look at Darth Vader.
Yeah. Oh, that's some funny shit. Like, how did you manage to get your head in that thing and then get everything snapped up?
Yeah.
And you still,
That's so stupid.
We had a few too. Yeah, they did the same fucking nonsense.
Holy shit. I notice that whenever I do a DI impression, they all have Southern accents, and none of mine, I think, were Southern. What say you guys? Do you want to give your plugs, John, actually?
Well, everyone, please check out DirtyHarryMinute.com.
Go to DirtyHarryMinute.com. Go check out Dirty Harry Minute Podcast, and then join us all back on Friday. Well, we're just sitting here on our fat asses. We need to get back into podcasting. John's already out there reconning next Friday's episode. That when it was on, and you all right? We didn't lose you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
No, you're fine. He fell out. He's gone.